Hello guys, thank you for joining. We'll start in just a minute. So today the topic of discussion is Kashmir Shaivism, and this why this is called the Universal School of Spirituality. We'll talk about it. So whatever we discuss on this page is related to non-duality. So we are going to explore what is this Shiva consciousness and what is this Kashmir Shaivism. So if you want to learn something from this session, it would be around like 20-25 minutes. So have a notebook and see what resonates with you. Be little patient with your questions. I will take them in the end. Okay. So what is this Kashmir Shaivism? This is my book. I have explained in thoroughly what is it. So today we are going to discuss about it. So basically the idea is that this reality, whatever we see, is one single consciousness, and that is the universal consciousness, and what the school is calling as Shiva. Shiva means the absolute reality, and what the goal of this school is for us to realize our Shiva nature. That is what the term is Shiv Tattva. So Shiv Tattva means the same principle that happens in the universe at this creation also exists within you. So as per your unfolding of your consciousness, this attainment of this non-dual awareness is like a journey to your soul, and until a being is not aware of his true Shiva nature, he is subjected to ignorance, and hence he attaches himself to desire and fear. So Kashmir Shaivism explains and only ask you as a seeker to go into this self-inquiry, that who am I, and there are certain different techniques on where how you start from mind, and then you go into that state of no mind, into that where you experience that state of non-duality. So Tantra is basically also a part of Kashmir Shaivism, where it is where the techniques that are used is for realizing that non-dual awareness. So we'll discuss more about what's the core of Kashmir Shaivism, and how is it universal for all of us. So let's understand that whenever we talk about philosophy, that Eastern always have darshan and not philosophy. What does it mean? That philosophy is something that you have to think from your mind, your intellectual understanding. But darshan is what is basically experience. So Kashmir Shaivism is basically what is for about God attainment, and it tells you about that your true nature is of Satchit Anand. That means it is of pure bliss, and just because that we are in ignorance, we are not able to experience that infinite bliss. So as a seeker, my goal is to inquire that who am I this body, am I this mind, and then afterwards, after turning inward, I go into this practice of meditation, and in this, the end of this meditation, the goal remains to go into that state of nirvikalp samadhi, where you experience that true bliss and your true nature of Satchit Anand. And once that happens, you attain the state of Jivan Mukti. That means that you live as Shiva. That means you now understand that whatever you see is only a relative reality. That is, whatever we see is Shakti, and what I am is not only this body-mind complex, but this pure consciousness, which is this Shiva consciousness. So once we realize that we are not just this body and not just this mind, we are coming from a source which is filled with bliss. So it's upon us that if we are aligned to that divine will or that godliness, we are able to harness that bliss that always flows within us. It's just that it does not comes in our inner awareness, but once we realize our Shiva consciousness, we are aware of that bliss that remains within us. So this school of thought, why was this considered advanced? Because it does not ask you to believe, it does not make you an theist, it does not make you an atheist, but it takes you to another level where you now know that you of your Shiva nature, because now you have a direct experience of your self realization, where you have achieved that non-dual bliss in that highest state of yoga, that is the Nirvikalpa Samadhi that we talked about. So this explaining about that one absolute nature, it says that the nature of it is Prakash and Vimarsh. Prakash means it is self-luminous. That means that it is a light. That means everything that we seeing is a light, and also with light, it is also the self-reflective power of it. That means whatever we are seeing is only a part of it, and whatever we seeing is also a mirrored reality. So that means, or a better put, we can say that whatever we see is only a manifested reality that comes from a source. So this absolute reality contains both Shiva and Shakti. That means both the static and kinetic. That means both the unmanifested and manifested states of reality. So our goal is to know this Shiva nature, to know this static consciousness, and this static is the eternal nature of self. That is why it is called Satchit Anand. So if we understand Satchit Anand, what it means is, Sat means understand what you truly are. Once you understand what you truly are, then you will have the seed of consciousness, and once that seed of consciousness sprouts, there you have the flower of that bliss that you have to experience. So Satchit Anand is your true nature, and this Kashmir Shaivism is a school where it explains for how this material reality that we see is also having an underlying experience of Shiva consciousness, that is the source of everything, and that is what we are calling God. That means that God is that totality, the pure universal consciousness that exists outside of us, but is that it projects inside of us. So there's one more very interesting concept in Kashmir Shaivism, which says like, if you follow this fractal, it repeats a pattern. So it says that this whole universe operates on different levels. So it explains a concept of tattva. Tattva means the fundamental principle that occur at every level. So there's a common understanding in Kashmir Shaivism that there's a Sanskrit saying, it says Yat Pinde Tat Brahmande. That means whatever that happens in this microcosm also happens in this very macrocosm. So our goal is to realize that universal consciousness of Shiva that exists within us. We have to focus on that dynamic Shakti that is operating through us. So through Shiva and Shakti, we realizes our true Shiva nature, and once we realize that, we are free. So that experience of infinite bliss is the goal, and that is also called moksha. So this is why this Lord Shiva is called the removal of ignorance, because it puts you directly into the direct experience of your non-dual nature, and that's when you realize your non-dual self. This is called Bhairav. Bhairav is that particular word that Kashmir Shaivism uses, that now when there's non-dual nature, there's no difference between subject and object, but there's only one unified awareness that exists. So now you are not just your body, but you're this pure consciousness. There's no where no objectivity exists. Okay. Or also Kundalini and these different techniques are there in Tantra, which says that Kashmir Shaivism is not only a philosophy to be understood, but also an experience to be lived, where you focus on your energetic body, and through practices you realizes your true nature, which is your Shiva consciousness, and this is your eternal nature. This is what will remove your ignorance that makes you feel limited into this body, and makes you identify yourself with this body mind complex. tell us about Advait versus Shaivism. So when Advait was made, it was because to counter Buddhism on their philosophy. But the main difference in Kashmir Shaivism is that Kashmir Shaivism has this says that this reality is not only static but also dynamic. That means that there is a concept of grace. That means that same consciousness that is throbbing through this existence in a form of vibration. In the case of enlightenment, you need a grace. That means your universal consciousness descends over to you and takes you into that space, into that unified non-dual bliss. That means Kashmir Shaivism says that God that has this self-sustaining creation also has this concept of grace that makes it dynamic, whereas Advait says that it is static. Brahman is static. Vigyan Bhairav Tantra and Kashmir Shaivism is linked. So Vigyan Bhairav Tantra is exactly what Kashmir Shaivism philosophy is about. Kashmir Shaivism is about Shiva consciousness, and Vigyan Bhairav Tantra is the way to access that Shiva consciousness. So if I have to say that Shiva consciousness is the static field, that means it is in the unmanifested state. So what Tantra says is to settle in two gaps. That means if you have one manifestation, it has finished and the second has not started yet. So in between that two manifestation, there is the state of unmanifested. That is the goal where you have to identify yourself as. And once you, like for example, if when I am breathing, the cycle of breathing goes like breathing, hold, exhalation, and then hold. So these two hold that I am making after breathing and exhaling, I have to keep awareness into that two gaps, and there will come a time where these two gaps will merge into one and you will experience that non-dual awareness. So this is what Tantra says. Tantra is basically the direct technique which uses energy form to transcend your mind into this transcendental reality that Kashmir Shaivism is talking about. So Shiva is that unmanifested state. We say Shiva is that which is not. That means whatever is has manifested as Shakti and which is not happened, but it is possible of manifesting is what is Shiva. So everything is Shiva. Everything that we see is Shiva. I am Shiva. You are Shiva. It's just that you have to realize your Shiva nature, and until that happens, you are subject to this ignorance and this cycle of rebirth. And once this Shiv Tattva is attained, there is no going back, and this is a permanent process. It's about going from 0 to 1, because now you rest into that state of witness consciousness, because now you have unlocked that flow of that channel that exists within you. So basically this goal is to merge your individual consciousness with your universal consciousness. There's also your yogic anatomy that we can talk about on how this Kundalini rises and pierces your crown chakra to dissipates your mental body, and that's how when you can connect from your physical body to your bliss body faster. So that keeps your removes your awareness. That is why we say that after that enlightenment experience there is no karmas, because you transcend your mental body. And so basically karmas is attached to you because you have those things that are dwelled into you. You are having them as knots. But enlightenment, this is a energetic shift, because now you change your identity. You no longer hold them to your old karmas and you are refreshed as new. So yes, this is a one-time process and everybody has to go through it, and until this happens you are subjected to rebirth. And the main goal why this started was that they all agreed that inherent nature of human is ignorance, because they are identifying themselves with impermanent nature of self. That is not true. That means if I identify myself as my body, I will die with regret after some years, because now I am faced with my permeable identity. So this question is, before dying, I have to know what I am really, to understand the death, to transcend death, to not fear death. So this experience gives you your true immortal nature, where you realize your infinite bliss. So this is what is Atma Gyan. This is what is experience of true self. This is what is called being Bhairav. This is what is called being merging your individual consciousness to your universal consciousness. This school is open for everyone regardless, because you are made up of, everybody is made up of same 5 elements, so no difference in identity. So your true identity remains Shiva consciousness. Okay, we'll have a Q&A session again. I'll stop this live and post this, and join me for the next Q&A session. Thank you guys for joining.